Hello. Time for time for some more Bretflix and chill. It's been a little while. It usually is a little while in between each live stream. I always say I'm going to try to do it every week, and I usually do like once a month or something like that. Um, so how long has it been since my last stream? It's been at least like I know it's been like at least like 2 or 3 weeks. A lot's gone down in that time. I mean, mostly good stuff, some sad stuff, and when I say sad stuff, I mostly mean, Neil Peart passed away. That's been really rough. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge Rush fan. Rush has always been my favorite band, but I discovered Rush when I was 14, and I've been listening to them religiously ever since. I'm 26 now. I won't talk too much about that. That's not really what the stream's about. Plus, I have no idea what I could say that it hasn't already been said. Nothing I could say really is worthy of that man, worthy of his skill, worthy just of like the quality of human being he was. But I mean, you see here on my wall, I have a Signals poster up, and then here I have my vinyl copy of A Farewell to Kings is framed. I have tons of shirts and everything. I've seen them live twice in concert. It was amazing. Like I said, I don't really have much to say about it. It's been pretty sad to think about, honestly. But may he rest in peace. Thankfully, we have the incredible music he made. Books even. I want to be a filmmaker one day, and one of my dream projects is actually to adapt his book, Ghostwriter. I've read the book. It's an incredible book. It's super depressing. Until the end, things get pretty hopeful. It's an amazing book. It's an incredible story. If you don't know much about it, you should look into it, get the book, and read it. It's a dream project of mine to adapt that. I already have tons of ideas of how I would do it too. So if anyone watching wants to give me like $5 million, then I'll make that movie, no problem. But anyway, we are here to talk about the new Star Wars movie. And again, Star Wars is kind of something like what can I say? When I saw the movie, like 3 weeks ago. A buddy of mine came from out of town. We'll probably see him at some point on this stream. Actually, zinc deficiency. He came to visit me, and we're just like, hey, let's go see the new Star Wars movie. I hadn't seen it yet. I think he had already seen it, and Star Wars is always something to talk about, I guess. And I saw the movie, and there was a lot of stuff I wanted to say, and I was like, oh, I could do a stream about it, which would be cool, but. What can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said in probably millions of uploads? So I was really having a hard time trying to find my footing, trying to find like what angle am I going to talk about this movie? Like how should I approach it? Like I mean, ultimately, I didn't really care for the movie that much. That seems to be the general consensus, is that the movie's just not very good, and I do agree with that. I do think the movie's probably the weakest of the trilogy. A lot of people have harsh feelings about The Last Jedi. Like a lot of people, there's a whole community on the internet that think The Last Jedi is so bad that it needs to be stricken from the Star Wars canon and everything. I have a line of light up and down me from my blinds. Anyway, I actually like The Last Jedi. I think The Last Jedi is an entertaining movie. There's some highlights from it. I think it is problematic. Like a lot of stupid stuff does happen in the movie. There's a lot I really don't like about the movie. Overall, a lot of the stuff people criticize about the movie, they're like, oh, Rose's character is dumb. Everything that like Finn and Poe and Rose do, like that's just padding because they just need something for them to do. Laura Dern's character is pointless and needlessly complicates the plot. Like I agree with nearly all of the core criticisms of it, and I hate to say that about Laura Dern because I love Laura Dern, but I really hated her character in the movie and I hated everything she added to the movie. But there's a lot about Last Jedi I really did like, and it's kind of like, okay, a lot of it really sucked. A lot of it I thought was actually pretty good. You know, how does that balance overall? Did I think it was a positive experience? And for me, it was. I've seen The Last Jedi maybe 3 or 4 times, and every time I see it, the good stuff is usually the stuff I walk away talking about. Like there's a lot of bad stuff, but that's just not the stuff I seem to focus on. I mostly focus on like the stuff with Rey and Luke Skywalker. A lot of people hated the direction they took Luke Skywalker's character. I thought that was one of the most fascinating things about the movie. I really liked that. I thought that was a strength. So I loved everything with Rey and Luke. I liked the fight scenes. I liked the color in the movie. There was a lot of really bright color, and I thought it was a gorgeous movie to look at. The effects were good. I actually liked how they killed off Snoke. I'm one of the few people that actually likes that. Everyone's frustrated about it and hates it. But I thought it was great because, you know, everyone's theory crafting from the very beginning. As soon as like the trailer for episode 7 dropped, everyone's like, this is my theory on who Snoke is. Like, this is who he's got to be. And I just like that Ryan Johnson was just like, you know what? Everyone's wrong. Everyone's wrong. Snoke is just nobody. He's a puppet. And I thought that was actually pretty cool. I thought that was more satisfying than pretty much anything else they could have done. That's my opinion, though. So like I said, overall, I think Last Jedi for me is a positive experience. I don't hate the movie, and I think Rise of Skywalker is a worse experience. But I also don't really hate this movie either. I guess it's just the most underwhelming Star Wars movie since Attack of the Clones. Maybe. I don't know if I'd say it's more underwhelming. I know I definitely prefer Attack of the Clones over this one, but who knows? That could be for nostalgic reasons because I saw the movie as a kid and I loved it. It could be because of the memes that has definitely elevated the entire prequel trilogy, which I think are also like actually good movies on their own. Like aside from the memes, I did videos on Star Wars on the whole franchise a couple years ago on the channel where I did one video where I talked about the George Lucas era, which was I believe I split those into two. I did like the original trilogy and then the prequels. So those were 2 videos, and then I did one on the Disney stuff, which at that point the newest Disney movie that had come out was Rogue One, and it was a couple years ago, so I don't remember everything I had said, but I'm pretty sure my opinions really haven't changed that much since then. So I don't have anything to add to that, but you could go check those out if you want to know like my feelings on Star Wars. But I really don't like Star Wars anymore, and not because like I've grown out of it or anything, but just because I don't like what Star Wars has become. Like Star Wars is now just like it's just a product really, and it's meant to sell you stuff, which you could easily argue it's always been that. But I still feel like the original trilogy and the prequels were still a product of genuine inspiration from George Lucas. Like I think he was trying to tell fun, entertaining stories, and it came from a single mind, a single man's vision. These new movies are coming from a committee that they just are trying to make movies that they think will make $1 billion at the box office. You know, it feels too computer generated. So I still actually kind of love Star Wars. Like I have a couple Star Wars shirts. So I brought this out just for the stream. In fact, this is one of my favorite things I have is a little Death Star that my sister Ashley made. Shout out to her. She made this for me. I actually always keep this on my futon back here. I brought it over here for the stream. And to show that I don't even really hate the Disney stuff that much, I have one of these. You can see both of these in past streams I've done. This was a gift from my niece Kaylee. Shout out to her. So like even the Disney stuff I don't hate. It's not nearly as interesting to me. I don't have any nostalgia for it. It doesn't have any personal meaning to me, whereas the George Lucas stuff definitely does. I talked about that in my videos. I talked about how when I was a kid, I would watch the Star Wars movies, and I had all the toys so I could play with the movies as I watched them. Like, that was a big thing for me. I'd watch at least 1 or 2 Star Wars movies every day. Every single day. Sometimes it'd be at random, sometimes I'd go in order, sometimes I'd go reverse order, just whatever. Oh, I even have this, which this is mostly a joke thing I brought out, but I have this Star Wars Han Solo cup. It's full of iced coffee. Not very good iced coffee, but it's full of iced coffee. This I actually got recently, like a couple months ago. Um, I haven't seen Solo, and I got this at a, I can't remember if it was a Denny's or an IHOP. It was one of those. I was me and some friends, we were heading out of town. We were heading to go see the Who, actually, which was pretty cool. And we were heading out of town. We stopped by a Denny's or an IHOP for just for like breakfast or something. And as I was paying for my meal, I looked up and they had a stack of those cups. I was like, "What are those?" Like, "Oh, we've had that. Those have been sitting there for like a year. Like, no one wants them. We can't sell them. We can't get." I was like, "Can I have one? Like, I'll pay for it. And like, just for the meme, I'll pay for it." And they're like, "Just take it." And they gave it to me. So I actually use it quite a bit. Um, I have Star Wars stuff. Like, I like Star Wars, and I was even somewhat excited for this movie to, it's gonna cap off the the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy. You have your original trilogy, your prequel trilogy, now this sequel trilogy. And I like some of the characters that they've introduced in this trilogy. Like, I think Rey's great. Disley Ridley is a really good actress, and she's excellent in the movie. I have a poster. It's not up anywhere, but I have a poster of her from Force Awakens. I think it's really cool. She's gorgeous. That's a big plus for me. And I like Finn and I like Poe. Those are kind of the main trios. And BB-8 I think is a really funny, adorable droid companion. I don't know if I'd say like as good as like C-3PO and R2-D2, but worthy of them for sure. Um, I guess that's really enough recap for kind of my history with Star Wars and how I'm approaching this new movie. Like, since the Disney stuff really isn't a part of my like head canon for Star Wars. Like, for me, it stops after Return of the Jedi. I really don't care about anything else. Like, they could have, and maybe that's part of the reason why I was able to really actually enjoy The Last Jedi, was because I didn't care where they drove characters and stuff. Because to me, like I said, it ends after Return of the Jedi. So they could have done anything with Luke, and I wouldn't have cared. All I wanted from these new movies was fun popcorn entertainment. Give me that Star Wars like atmosphere, like the great John Williams music and cool like droids and aliens and planets and really cool lightsaber duels, and I'm set. That's really all I require. I don't need these movies to follow a certain canon. I don't need them to be in line with what I think Star Wars is or anything like that. They could have gone anywhere with these movies, and like I said, as long as it was entertaining, I was perfectly set with that. Um, and that's really my main beef with this new movie, is that it's just not very entertaining. Like, it wraps things up. It's about the most I have to say about it. Like, it answers the questions it needs to answer. It answers like, who's Rey? Where does Rey come from? I won't spoil any of that if you haven't seen the movie, but it does answer that question, and it's not what I thought it was gonna be, but it wasn't like a pleasant like plot twist. It was kind of like, oh, okay. Like, that was literally my reaction to it. I would love to spoil it, but I just won't, just out of respect for anyone who still hasn't seen it yet. My theory, I will say what I thought what it was going to be, was I thought Rey was a Solo. Like, Rey was the daughter of Han and Leia, and maybe even like twins, because twins run in the family. Maybe like a twin with Kylo, and that's why like they have such a strong connection, and why, I don't know, Leia really seems to like her a lot, even though they said like 2 words to each other the whole time. Like, maybe she was just some long lost twin or something like that. That's what I assumed. And I think there was even a moment in like Force Awakens where I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen the movie, but I feel like there was a moment where to me that really backed up my theory, where like Han was like, "I have something I need to tell you, Ray," and he's like, and he sort of hesitates and goes, "I'll tell you later." And I think there's a moment like that. I could be making that up, but I felt like that's where, uh, like Han was gonna say like, "You're my daughter" or something, because it makes sense that it would make sense that so many things come natural, like she's such a good pilot and she loves the Millennium Falcon, or I don't know. That's what I thought it was going to be, and it's not that. So maybe that's too much of a spoiler, but it's not that. One thing that's not a spoiler is that Palpatine's back. I guess he's freaking back. That was just so out of nowhere. I remember when the first like teaser trailer for Rise of Skywalker dropped, and you hear the laugh, and everyone goes, "Oh, that's Palpatine's laugh." I remember thinking like, it sounds like him, but it's not him, because that would be the stupidest thing to have him still be alive. Well, I was wrong about that, apparently. He's still alive after being thrown down a shaft and being dead, and he's still alive on some planet somewhere, and he just like has an army. No idea how he got this army in however many years, and it's in 30 years he was able to build an army without anyone knowing that's supposed to rival the New Order, and and to just have everything be under the radar. I don't know how he escaped the Death Star. It really glosses over all of those details. It really just says like, like you can tell the movie's just like, please just accept that this is the plot, please, and let's just try to move on. Like, uh, right off the bat, when the movie starts, there's a lot of issues, a lot of pacing issues plague this movie, and it's because the first like hour of the movie it feels like a montage of just like things happening. Things are happening because they're trying to get the audience. J.J. Abrams is trying to get the audience up to speed to the story that he wants to tell. And it's not necessarily a bad story, but it's just rushed so much. And like that first hour really feels like it's supposed to be the middle movie that J.J. Abrams would have made if he made all three movies. Like he doesn't retcon anything from Last Jedi. Like he doesn't try to say like, oh, that stuff actually didn't happen. It's like Last Jedi still entirely canon, but you can tell like J.J. Abrams had a very different movie in mind for that middle movie, and he tries to fit that in here in the first hour or so of the Rise of Skywalker, and so the movie is a jumbled mess to start with, um, and so that's when it establishes all kinds of things like Palpatine being back, the overall plot, and kind of where Rey comes from and stuff. And it's so contrived, and it's so just hard for me to believe. And I'm good at just like accepting things in movies. Like I can look at the wildest movie, and just like it'll something will happen, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, like I'll roll with that, cool. Like that's like I love yeah, I made Yoga Hosers is a good example, and Tusk, those weird sort of horror movies that Kevin Smith did in the past few years. Like a movie about a dude being turned into a walrus. Probably never in a million years could that happen, but it's like, all right, I'll accept that. I'll roll with that. Cool. Like I'm on board 100% of the way. And a lot of the stuff that happens in Last Jedi that everyone hates, like it's just easy for me to accept. You know, they're like, oh, uh, Luke, like, you know, Force projects himself across the galaxy at the end of the movie. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that are just wrong with the logistics of that. I'm not too bothered by a lot of that stuff. I can just be like, sure, why not? Fuck it. Like, yeah, okay, he can do that. Um, but I wasn't able to do that with this whole Palpatine being back thing, and that is a big detriment to the whole movie, because that is literally what the whole movie. That's the plot. That's the entire plot of the movie. So everything that happens because of this. It revolves around this plot and this idea. And since I can't accept that idea, most of what happens I can't get invested in or anything. It really bugs me. Uh, there's a there's this YouTuber who makes very long but good analysis of movies and video games. He's a YouTuber by the name of Mauler, Mauler. He's worth checking out because, like I said, he makes long videos about things that he's very passionate about, and things that like really shouldn't matter but just matter to him, and he really breaks these things down. I discovered him because of a of a little mini series he did on his channel of him responding to a positive review of Dark Souls 2. And he did a response to a video that was, and his response is 10 hours long. It is 10 1-hour episodes of him breaking down this guy's review, saying why everything is wrong, saying why Dark Souls 2 is actually a very bad game. It's fascinating to listen to, honestly, and he has like 2.5 hour reviews, 2 hour to 2.5 hour reviews. I meant to say, of like the new Star Wars movies. So like this dude, he has a lot of attention to detail, and he's fascinating to listen to. And he has a video on Rise of Skywalker. He has one for Last Jedi and stuff, where he will take any little detail and tell you why it's wrong or it's dumb or why it doesn't make sense. And he always makes very good points. And a lot of the time, like when I watch these videos of his, or I'll listen to them while I'm doing other things, kind of like a podcast. A lot of the stuff is like, okay, I agree with you. That doesn't really make sense, but it's just easy for me to just move on from that detail, not to really care about it. And there's a lot of stuff like that in The Last Jedi. And again, I'm not too bothered by it, except for the fact that Palpatine's back. That I just can't accept. Like I'm like, that's just the dumbest thing on the planet. And I want to just be able to forgive a lot of these things and move on and just enjoy the movie. But the thing is that there really aren't very many moments in this movie to really enjoy. Like there's a lot of dumb things in The Last Jedi. Like there's a lot of lows in that movie, but there's so many highs as well, and that's why I'm able to walk away and be like, I was entertained by the movie. You know, you can tell me all day long this stuff doesn't make sense, but like I'm not too bothered by it. I can accept that and just enjoy the good stuff, and that's enough for me. But in Rise of Skywalker, there just really wasn't any good stuff. The lightsaber duels were underwhelming, and the battles were underwhelming. And this whole movie was just like, it's just one of the most mediocre movies I've ever seen in my life. Like nothing to me really stood out as like, oh, that's really bad or stupid or poorly made. Like the effects are well done, and like the movie looks nice, the music's good, the performances are fine. Like everything is just so middle of the road, though. There's nothing about the movie that really made me go, wow, that's cool. Like this is the climax. This is the climax to this, what's supposed to be this epic trilogy. It's Star Wars. You need to make a big movie, a big and bold movie. Like I remember thinking about Revenge of the Sith. Like everyone talks about the stupid stuff in the prequels and how things don't make sense, and they'll tear apart all the many details in the whole prequel trilogy. But when you watch Revenge of the Sith, though, that's an epic movie. Like you have lightsaber duel between Obi-Wan and Anakin, like over giant pits of lava, and they're flipping around doing all these crazy acrobatic moves with their lightsabers, and they're on top of these humongous pillars that are collapsing into lava. The whole time they're doing these really melodramatic monologues about, you were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them, and they're like, oh, in my eyes the Jedi are the bad ones, and it's so melodramatic and so over the top, but the eye candy and the music and the drama, it's like, that's a climax. Like, George Lucas directs the hell out of that movie. That's a big movie. Rise of Skywalker never reached not even a quarter of that sort of hype like it should have. Like, it thinks it is. It thinks it's doing that in the climax when Rey is facing Palpatine and everyone's up and doing a battle in the sky. Like, it's clearly just trying to be the end of Return of the Jedi, but like Return of the Jedi had three movies setting up Palpatine in the original trilogy, setting up Palpatine and the drama between Luke and Vader, and the wanting to be on the dark side and the light side and all this stuff. I had 3 movies to set that up. So when you get to that moment, you care, and you have 3 movies of setting up all the other characters that are up in space fighting each other. Like, you care how these things are going to turn out, and there's so much going on that it's balancing. Like, it has the space stuff and the stuff in the Death Star with Luke and everything going on in Endor. Like, that's a big movie. Lucas didn't direct that one. That was Richard Marquand. Directs the hell out of it, though. He does a very, very good job. I mean, yeah, Lucas was probably right behind him, over his shoulder, making sure all of his decisions were like correct. It still really is just a George Lucas movie, but that's a big movie. Rise of Skywalker didn't have that. There were characters up in space that are doing the space battles and shooting and flying around and shooting everything. Some of these characters you met for the first time in this movie. You met briefly. You don't care about. There's the character like that, like Lando. You do meet Lando, and why is Lando even a part of this? What's the point of that? So you don't care that he's there. There's Rose. No one likes Rose. Rose is useless. No one cares, so I don't care that she's there. And then there's a new character that is like supposed to be hinted later. That is like Lando's daughter. You met her for maybe 2 minutes earlier in the movie. Do not care that she's there. The only characters that are there that you might have any investment in is Poe and Finn. And they're really just up there because you need something for them to do in the climax. And then you have what's going on the ground level with Rey and Palpatine. Since Palpatine, there's no build up to him being in this movie at all. So the fact that he's even a part of it is extremely underwhelming. Like, the only thing that is kind of okay is like Daisy Ridley's performance as Rey. She's very good in this movie. Like, she sells like that struggle she has. When Palpatine's like, strike me down and we'll rule the galaxy. And she she has the struggle of like, I can strike him down, and I know if I strike him down here, I have the best intentions, but like that might make him powerful enough to take over the galaxy or something. Like she's just able to sell that in very few words, just like with her eyes, with the struggle in her face. Like, she's good. Kylo, I love Adam Driver, and I think Kylo Ren's a good villain. He really has nothing too special to do in this movie either. But my main beef with the movie, it's not the minor details. It's not the minor details. It's not all the little story things that people complain about. My major beef with this movie is that it is middle of the road every step of the way. I wanted this movie to go balls out, really go for a climactic ending. Take some chances the way George Lucas would have done. Like I said before, even in my other videos that I uploaded years ago, it's like Lucas is the man. Lucas made these movies because he was trying to make original films. He was trying to pour a lot of his own personal stuff into these movies. So they're big budget Hollywood movies, but they're also like the kind of movies that a indie filmmaker would want to make. There's a lot of ideas in there that drive that sort of thing. He wanted to give new planets and new ideas and new characters and new aliens and just things you've never seen before. He really wanted to inspire awe in everybody. And he goes for broke in the prequel trilogy. He really does. Like, a lot of the time it didn't work. Like, the prequel trilogy is a mess. Like, it didn't work, but just like the balls he had, the real artistry that he had as a filmmaker when he made those is so respectable, so commendable. Like, and it does pay off some of the time, like with the lightsaber duel at the climax of Revenge of the Sith I mentioned, and in other moments, everything with Darth Maul is amazing. The music's amazing. That's like some of John Williams' best work he's ever done. Pod racing scenes incredible. Like, there are so many highlights to every one of those prequel movies. And this one is just, it never steps above mediocre, I thought. Like, I think it was a bad movie. Like I said, not necessarily poorly made. I mean, maybe the editing, you could say, because of just how jumbled up the intro was, but with the narrative that J.J. Abrams was trying to pack into this one movie, it's probably turned out as good as it could have. Yeah, I think that this movie would have turned out a lot better if J.J. Abrams had made made episode 8, made it the way however he wanted to make it. That way he could have introduced Palpatine earlier and built him up and really made me believe that he was going to be a part of this. I still think it's a silly way to go, but you could pull it off. I'm not saying it's impossible. That's my main beef with the movie. It is mediocre every step of the way, and I was thinking about this a lot. The thing that helped me find my footing on how I wanted to talk about this movie was another movie I saw, which is a part of the title of this, where it's the title of this video or the stream is Rise of Skywalker versus the Hurricane Heist. I watched the Hurricane Heist, and it helped me really understand how I felt about the Rise of Skywalker. I'm not going to try to say like Hurricane Heist was amazing and it's understood. Hurricane Heist is a silly, silly movie. It has a extremely outlandish premise. It's not for everyone. It kind of has a little bit of a straight to DVD sort of feel. Like, I'm not saying that the Hurricane Heist is amazing, but what I am saying is it far exceeded my expectations, basically. Like, it had the balls to go to these crazy climactic places, like dramatically and narratively, and also just like just the set pieces in the movie were just so over the top that you just kind of had to like give it up to the movie for being ballsy and for knowing what it is and knowing what the kind of movie it is and leaning heavily into that and just trying to take this ridiculous concept and make it as entertaining as possible. And I was like, if only Rise of Skywalker had any of that ambition, it would have been such a significantly better movie. Hurricane Heist I watched like about a week ago with my roommate. It was like 6 o'clock at night. Neither of us had anything to do. We got some food. We were looking through Netflix, and I was like, "Holy crap! Hurricane Heist is on there." Like, I remember seeing the promo stuff for when the movie came out. I was like, "Oh, that looks awful. It looks silly as can be. Like, no one's gonna see that." So we kind of put it on just for the fun of it, just because, like, it'd be something to watch, something you didn't really have to like pay too much attention to. You could kind of talk and make fun of it as you watched it, which is definitely how we watched that whole thing. But what was surprising is we kind of found ourselves like sort of not getting invested, but just like making sure we always knew what was going on in the movie, like, because there's a lot of plot twists. The movie's about. There's a lot going on in the movie. It has kind of a convoluted story, but what we thought the movie was going to be was we thought it was going to be like an Ocean's 11 thing where like a group of thieves find out about some money that's going to be transported and there's a hurricane happening at the same time, so they're going to take advantage of that to try to like steal the money. And that's not really what it is. What it is like it is like there are a group of thieves, but they're not the good guys. It's not an Ocean's 11 thing. The group of thieves are definitely the bad guys. They hold up a lot of people hostage and stuff, and the good guys are like these people that know a lot about like hurricanes and stuff. Like one of them's I think he's like a hurricane. He's not necessarily a hurricane chaser or whatever they're called, but but hurricanes is like his jam. And his brother, his brother's a big character in the movie, and they have to like reconcile like their relationship and like help save the day. And they have this whole past where their father was killed by a hurricane and stuff. So there's a lot of drama there. Some people are like double agents, like, oh, I was a good guy, but no, I'm a bad guy actually. There's a lot going on in the movie. And it was so over the top and fun that we were like making sure we were following what was going on every step of the way. So like something would happen, right? Like someone would die, and then we'd always have to be like, okay, wait. Who died? What's the significance of this? Like how is that going to affect the story? Which is so much more than I can say for Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker, things were just happening, and I watched it like, okay, I guess Palpatine's back. Like, it shouldn't have been that way. Like, when we found out Palpatine's back, it should have been like, whoa, Palpatine's back? oh, that's crazy. So what was he doing the whole time? Like, how was he pulling the strings? Like, what does that say about all the, all, you know, about what's going on with the new order and whatever. Like that should have been the reaction, but no, it's literally just the whole time. Um, and the action sequences, there's a lot of action sequences in Hurricane Heist. Like there's one where they're like inside a building and the hurricane's going over, and the bad guys have guns pointed at the good guys, but the good guys they're unarmed and stuff, so they like have this weird plan where they like hook themselves to this railing, and the glass breaks above them, which sucks everyone up into the hurricane. But they're hooked on, and so they're being sucked into the hurricane, but they're being held to the ground, and they're flailing through the air. Like the whole time, me and my friend Dana, we're just like, dude, this is awesome. Like I did not think the movie was gonna go there. At the climax, like there are these semi trucks speeding away from a hurricane, and there's money, and there's like good guys and bad guys in the same truck, and it's like, but then like everyone's gonna die, so they're like, fuck, we might as well just be like, we might as well help each other try to survive, and they're trying to get over to this other semi truck, but the hurricane takes it up like right as the good guy jumps out. Like it's a balls to the wall movie, and none of it makes sense. Like none of it makes sense. But I'm watching the movie and I'm just like, okay, like yeah, I can accept this because this is a fun ride of a movie. There's this part where they're of course in the middle of a hurricane, and good guys, bad guys are shooting at each other. And the hurricane is like taking cars on the street and dragging them, and the cars are flipping, but the people on foot are still like anchored to the ground, running around shooting things. And then how come the people are getting sucked up into the thing? But I didn't care about that. I was accepting that and moving on because the movie was entertaining me. Like I was all for it. Like it just had this like. It had this ridiculous premise, and also another thing. Speaking just about having a ridiculous premise, like it's easy to make fun of the movie, but you find yourself thinking, like, this movie's actually really well made because it is a ridiculous premise. Like the plot's very convoluted, and it's the most unrealistic thing on the planet. You know, oh, they're gonna use this hurricane to steal like $600 million or something like that. Maybe it was $60 million. I don't know. But I remember thinking, like, if I was given this script, could I have made this movie this well? And I was like, I honestly don't think I could have. Like, this movie's surprisingly well made. Like, the effects were halfway decent. I looked up on Box Office Mojo what it said the budget for the movie was, and it said that the budget was something like $30 million for the whole thing. And I'm like, 30 million? That's insane. Because this movie looks like a $150 million movie. Like, it doesn't look like the biggest movie ever, but the effects are, like I said, surprisingly decent. It at least sells the scenes that, you know, they complement the scenes and the action and everything. And the actors are pretty committed to their roles. Like, the bad guys are giving it their all. Like, it doesn't have a whole lot of like big name actors in the movie. Some like they have a lot of faces you might recognize. There's a woman in the movie who played like Liam Neeson's daughter in the Taken movies. Like, so I recognized her. My roommate recognized like the main character because he was in like an episode or two of Black Mirror. So there's a lot of faces you recognize, but like names you won't get. But like they're all like in it. When their characters need to go to level 10, they go to level 10. You know, they're doing their best to sell these ridiculous scenes. Now, overall, like at the end of the day, it's a silly movie. It's not one I don't know if I'd really like recommend everyone see Hurricane Heist. And probably realistically, it's as good as Rise. Like they're probably the same sort of quality, Rise of Skywalker and Hurricane Heist. But Rise of Skywalker, I was expecting a lot more and got way less than that. Hurricane Heist, I was expecting a lot less, but got way more. Like Rob Cohen, the guy who made Hurricane Heist. He's done a lot of like sort of schlocky action movies, but he does them very well. Like he did the first Fast and Furious movie, and he did that Alex Cross movie. I haven't seen Alex Cross, but I mean, clearly, like he's actually not he's not an incompetent filmmaker. Like he made this movie, I think, as well as it probably could have been made. Which, but with Rise of Skywalker, I was like, this movie was made way worse than it could have been made, and this movie had all the money in the world to be what it needed to be, and it was so far under that. Like very, very disappointing. And that, so after I saw like not Rise of Skywalker, Hurricane Heist, I found my footing on how I kind of feel about Rise of Skywalker. Um, I know, I've really bashed on it a lot. It's not that bad. It's not that bad of a movie. If you really care about how the narrative of the sequel trilogy like wraps up, if you're really invested in that, you probably won't hate Rise of Skywalker, because it ties all the knots it needs to tie. Um, so I guess I guess that's it. So now the Disney trilogy, the sequel trilogy is done. And it's underwhelming, not just like critically, but like at the box office too. Like it's making money. It's making a bunch of money. But I saw a thing like a little while ago about uh, like where it is in the box office versus like it was like after like 1 month or something of it being in the box office or being in theaters, it was at however many dollars in the box office, and it was, and then the thing I saw was comparing to Last Jedi and the box office results after a month, and Last Jedi was nearly double Rise of Skywalker. And I don't, that could say a lot of things, maybe about the quality of this movie, or just about maybe about how people just feel about Star Wars now. Maybe they're getting more and more burnt out. I don't know. Like, I mean, all the critical reviews for the movie have been lukewarm at best. I'm not really sure how audiences are reacting to it. Maybe that could just be because no one's really talking about it because it's lukewarm. Um, I mean, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube like tear it apart, but I'm still not quite sure what the general consensus is. So I'm not sure. It's hard to guess what the future of Star Wars is going to be. Now, Disney launched their streaming platform, Disney Plus, and they have a Star Wars show on there, Mandalorian. I have no interest in seeing it, probably never will see it, but it's doing well. People seem to really like it. I listen to some podcasts, and a lot of the time on different podcasts, they'll mention like, "Oh, hey, I saw the new Mandalorian and it was great." Like people seem to really enjoy it. Maybe that's the future of Star Wars. There's supposed to be an Obi-Wan show that I think is going to be on Disney Plus, and I don't. But as far as like feature films go, I don't really know I don't know what's going to happen. Like Solo flopped. Solo was a massive flop. Like a surprising one. I remember when the movie was in theaters, I heard about how like, oh, Solo's underperforming or whatever, and my first thoughts was like, well, I mean, compared to Rogue One and Force Awakens, yeah, maybe it is underperforming. Compared to Last Jedi, it is underperforming. Those movies made $1 billion, but still got to be making money. It's Star Wars, but no, it didn't. I think like even worldwide, it didn't even make its budget back, or it didn't make enough to like break even or something. The way like profit is measured with films is kind of strange. Like the rule of thumb is to take a movie's budget, double it, and you have to make more money than that number to be profitable, because like a lot of time budgets don't include like the marketing and stuff like that, and distribution. I don't know, it's weird. I'm not sure how it all really works. But yeah, I remember I looked into it, and the movie made, if it made any money in the box office, it was like $3, or if anything. I mean, maybe in the long run it'll do well, like on streaming platforms and DVD sales. Eventually it'll make money, but like this movie was a hardcore flop, and I thought when they said it was a flop, I thought it was just going to be like relative flop compared to other movies, compared to other Star Wars movies. But no, just on its own, it was a flop. I couldn't believe it. maybe people don't want Star Wars anymore. Maybe they're getting burnt out. I mean, I got burnt out basically after Force Awakens. Like, I mean, Force Awakens is a solid movie. It's really entertaining. I liked it. And I liked Rogue One and stuff. But then, like, by the time Last Jedi came around, I remember already feeling a lot of fatigue. And and definitely long before Rise of Skywalker, I stopped caring. So I don't know what they're gonna do. It's not like there's any shortage of stories to tell, but it's like, are there stories that really need to be told? Like Rogue One is also, I think, a good movie. I liked Rogue One. I don't know why really it was made though, because the whole thing with Rogue One is it answers, how they got the Death Star plans before Episode 4 starts. But that was a question I don't think anyone ever asked. No one ever cared. It was, how did they get the plans? Like, no one needed to know that. And they made a whole movie showing it. I made a whole good movie. Make of that what you will. But yeah, I don't know. Star Wars it's just done. I mean, for me, it's already done. It was done years ago. Star Wars ended in 2005 with Revenge of the Sith. That's all you need is the George Lucas stuff. And I know when I say the George Lucas stuff, that also implies Clone Wars. I've never watched that show. I saw the movie. I remember I saw that movie when it was in theaters, and I didn't like it. And a lot of it was just because I didn't know who the characters and stuff were because I never watched the show. And then after that, I didn't like the movie, and so then I snuck into Tropic Thunder. So that was a fun day. Actually, that was a really fun day. Tropic Thunder was excellent too, and that was like the day after I saw Bruce Hornsby in concert. Like that was just a fun weekend in general. But yeah, but anyway, Star Wars. You could say it's come to a close now. I think it came to a close a long time ago, and I will always love it. I will always love those 6 movies. Seeing those prequels in the theaters when I was a kid is still like some of my favorite movie-going experiences I've ever had. Like nothing blew me away more than that. And it's like it's crazy because I see a lot of great movies now. In fact, one of my upcoming streams is going to be like my favorite of the year streams, favorite movies of the year streams, favorite movie of the decade as well will be another one. And so I see great movies all the time, but nothing. I haven't reacted to a movie the way I reacted to the Star Wars prequels when I was a kid. And there's a lot of great movies came out this past year. Uncut Gems, and I saw 1917, which was really really good. Uncut Gems was really good, and The Irishman was excellent, and Parasite was great. Like a lot of great movies. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which this is just kind of right here. This is a little side note. Thanks to zinc deficiency, I got this. It's this weird. It's a poster, but it's like fabric. I don't know what I would call this thing. It's like, I don't know. I guess it is a poster. He said he got it off of like some weird Chinese knockoff website or something. It's really cool actually. But yeah, movie full, or a year full of great movies. But man, nothing was like seeing The Phantom Menace when I was a little kid. I would have been 5 years old when Phantom Menace came out, and those pod racing scenes and seeing Darth Maul's face, and those were good times. It'd be great to get that back one day. I would just love to see George Lucas direct again. Like that was one of the things he said he was going to do when he sold Lucasfilm to Disney. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to start making personal films, small films," and dude, it's been like what, 6, 7, 8 years now. Like, make those movies. I'd love to see those movies. I'd love to see, like, if it's a short film or something, I'd love that. I'd be all over a George Lucas short film about anything, a feature about anything. I'd be 100% for that. Like, he made movies other than Star Wars movies back in the 70s. I still haven't seen THX 1138, but American Graffiti is a great movie. But anyway, I think that's gonna do it for this episode of Bretflix and Chill. Just talking about one movie that really underwhelmed me, and another movie that was just stupid, crazy fun. It kind of has my. I think it gives a good showing of what you should strive for when you make a movie. Just you got to entertain your audience. You gotta you got to give them stuff they've never seen. It's a really hard thing to do. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for watching. This is probably my longest stream I've done. Actually, I think I'm closing in on about 50 minutes. So I really appreciate anyone who watched. I wonder if anyone would agree with me. If you've seen Hurricane Heist, like what did you think of that movie? Like I still kind of that's like my favorite movie I've seen in a while. Like what did you think of Hurricane Heist? I'd love to know. All right, I'll see you guys next time. I really gotta get my stuff together and do like a best of the year sort of stream. I have a lot of notes I've taken down for movies from 2019 that I'd love to talk about. There's one that I don't know if it really counts. It's that Aretha Franklin music movie, Amazing Grace. I think that's technically 2018, even though it's really starting to get released like this year. I'm not really sure where that lies. If that does count for this year, then like that's like the best movie. That's the best movie ever. Like that was like, oh man, that was like a religious. I felt like a born again Christian watching that movie. Like it was beautiful. I have a lot on here, so not sure which ones I'm gonna. There's still some I need to see. Like I still really want to see Pain and Glory. I haven't seen that yet. I missed Lighthouse. I missed The Farewell. I really wanted to see those. I'm yet to see. My Name is Dolomite. I haven't seen that, but I actually watched Dolomite, the actual Dolomite film, last night. Actually, because I wanted to see that before I saw like the dramatization of it, just to appreciate the work that they did in this new movie a bit more. I've never seen any of the Dolomite movies. I've seen clips of it and I've read about them and I know about them, and I've seen other like exploitation movies from the 70s and stuff. But I saw Dolomite. It's an entertaining movie. It's a really bad one, but it's an entertaining movie. So yeah, I gotta try to, and there's also like another one. I'm not sure how I would describe it. So like I saw the Apocalypse Now, the final cut. Now does that still count as like a 1979 movie? Because it's a cut of the movie that was released in 2019. So I'm not sure if that one would count. Like it was great. Like I love Apocalypse Now is like in my top 10 favorite movies ever made. Specifically the theatrical cut, though. I've seen Redux. I don't really care for Redux that much. But, yeah, so I don't know. I have to kind of decide, like, what my list is going to be. I kind of want to keep it to 5 or something. And I still need to see High Life. That's another one I've written down. And Marriage Story. I'm surprised I haven't seen Marriage Story yet, because Noah Baumbach's, like, one of my favorite filmmakers. And his Meyerowitz's Story was my favorite movie of 2017. So I'm really excited to see those movies I listed, and to talk about the ones I've already seen and stuff. So hopefully we'll talk about that. I did see Rambo Last Blood. Not the best movie of the year. Maybe the worst movie of the year, but because of that, it's like my favorite movie of the year. Or maybe The Fanatic with John Travolta. I don't know if you've heard of that, but The Fanatic is a movie starring John Travolta, directed by the lead singer and songwriter of Limp Bizkit, which is the strangest thing ever. The movie's not very good. Talking about it would really be its own episode. In fact, if I were to ever like talk about that on the show, I'd have to have my roommates with me, because me specifically, my roommates Dana and Felix, we've watched that movie like 4 times together, and we talk about it all the time. Like it's a bad movie, but it's like, it is a crazy movie, and it's one that will have you talking for a long time. But anyway, so like I said, I'm gonna end this. I'm still working on some goals of mine for 2019. This is by my bed. I'm reading a book on Led Zeppelin. Have been reading it for like 2 years, but I just never open it because I don't like reading. And I know that's a shameful thing to admit. I do not enjoy reading, but sometimes I do. This book's really good, though. And it's also fitting because today I got this in the mail. Led Zeppelin, The Song Remains the Same. I've never seen this. I'm a big Zeppelin fan. And this is supposed to be like one of the best like concert DVDs ever. So I'm really excited to check that out. And then I'm basically like my main thing for 2020 is I want to read. I need to read more books. The last time I read a book was like 3 years ago. But that year I read like 2 books. I'd like to do that again this year. If I can read 2 books in 1 year, for me that's huge. That's really, really big. Book suggestions would be fantastic, especially anything revolving around music or film. I would really, really appreciate. My roommate, a big fan, who's like the biggest fan of The Who you'll ever meet. He has Roger Daltrey's newest book, and he says it's great. And he's like, you should read that when I'm done. And I might do that. That might be the next one I read after this Zeppelin one. Who knows? There's not a lot of books about Rush, which is kind of a shame. They're my favorite band. I'd love to read, to do some more reading about Rush. But Neil Peart has some books. Maybe I'll check another one of his books out. Okay. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for chilling with me. See the Hurricane Heist. You can skip Rise of Skywalker. Don't skip the Hurricane Heist. Hurricane Heist is incredible. All right, I'll see you guys later.